is happening, guys? Proto Bro here, infamous brother to Mega Bro of AoE Brothers. And today what I want to show you is how I go about modding Skyrim. The purpose for which is hopefully you can enhance your experience too. If you've watched any of the Let's Plays that I've put up so far with regards to Skyrim, you will notice that there are significant differences between that and the vanilla version, and that is because I have done what I'm going to show you today. So to get started, we're going to basically go through these items here today, and I hope to do this in about 15, maybe 20 minutes at tops. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through each step that you would need to do to basically mod the heck out of Skyrim and make it stable. So first, you can go through your internet browser, and what you're going to want to do is go to Skyrim Nexus. Now, yes, there are a variety of ways to mod Skyrim along with any other game, but I've found, at least for Skyrim, that I do everything through Nexus. The reason being is it's just easier to kind of keep all your mods in one thing. I do use a mod downloader to basically assist me with putting all the scripting into the game and plugins and so forth. I used to use Nexus mods along with the Steam Workshop, but I found that having those two different methods of modding just made it too complicated. Too many conflicts, and then anytime I was troubleshooting, it just made it that much harder. So I use this website here. You just go to nexusmods.com/Skyrim, or just type in, Nexus, Skyrim Nexus, and that'll get you there. This is your homepage. You'll notice that people are always putting up new mods, updating mods on here. It's a very active site. But you don't just have to use Skyrim Nexus. There's other games that Nexus supports. So for example here, you'll notice that there are several other games that Nexus mods currently supports. So Skyrim's what we're going to be operating under today, but there's Oblivion, Witcher 3 has it now, Morrowind, which when I do my Morrowind playthrough, I'm going to use mods from Morrowind, the Morrowind Nexus to support it. So first you go here. You don't necessarily have to create an account. If you do, it's free. Some of the mods you download, either because of the size or the explicit nature of the mod, will require you to create an account. But you go here and then download the Nexus Mod Manager up here. All right, and download that first before you do anything, and I will show you why in a second. Now, once you do that, you will have your Nexus Mod Manager. Now, I have a little bit older version. I think there's a more current version out. Again, they're constantly releasing new content for your mod manager. What you'll notice here is that you'll start off with an unassigned folder. I have added these folders over time based on the mods that I've installed. You can really customize it however you like, and that'll be under the mod tab. And obviously this will be empty when you first download it, and then you just start downloading mods. You'll notice up here, I'll explain this in a second, or not a second, but in a few. This is really what I launched the game from, SKSE, which I'll talk about in a bit. And then you have the download manager down here, which is the mods that you're currently downloading. And then on the right here, the mods that you are currently trying to install or plug in to your Skyrim game. And then on the right here, you have the actual website for the mod that you've downloaded. Okay. And then here, the plugins, these are the mods that you've actually installed. So here, listen to the gray. These aren't installed currently in my Skyrim folders. So even though they appear here, they will not appear here. The plugins these are the actual plugins that you have currently installed into Skyrim. So the reason I point that out is that if, for example, you have, let's say, Climate of Tamriel, which is what COT stands for here. Say you had the main COT file, you didn't want to completely uninstall it, but you thought maybe it was creating, so here it is, was creating a problem, conflicting with another mod, or was crashing your game. Then instead of going under mods and uninstalling Climate of Tamriel totally, so I think I have it under textures, probably should have found this first before I started blabbing about it. Here we go, ambiance, that's what I put under. So instead of completely removing the Climate of Tamriel from my mod list, so uninstalling it and then having to reinstall it, you can literally just unclick it, and it keeps you from, it's a lot quicker, right, to troubleshoot. So first point from this video is when you're trying to troubleshoot, just unclick it from the plugins first. What that'll do is allow you to load without it included, and that'll tell you whether that's the issue or not. Okay, so now we've downloaded Nexus Mod Manager. What do? We go back to the main page, Nexus Mods, and you start looking for mods. You may ask, well, I don't know what mods I want to download. How do I figure that out? The best way is a twofold approach, in my opinion. Well, threefold. One, Google what are the best mods to download, for whatever you want to enhance. So, for example, if I feel like the HD effects in Skyrim are lacking, maybe I'll look for mods that enhance the HD effects. If I want to improve the combat system, then I would Google mods that improve the combat system in Skyrim, whatever, right? But if you're not even sure, what it is exactly you want to do, I would go to Files up here, and then I would go to Categories. This is approach 1. And here you'll see under Categories a variety of categories, all involving mods, and you can just poke through here and figure out what you want to enhance. So for example, weapons, right? If you want to include bring in new weapons in the game or enhance the way they look, whatever, stealth, so on and so forth, that's one way. So let's say player homes, right? Say we want to add a player home to Skyrim. As you notice in one of my other videos, I did a video of Canal Home. I believe one of the ways I found that was going to player homes and just literally looking for most downloaded and all that sort of thing. But if you go to player homes, which for some reason my computer's been a little slow, here are all the mods uploaded by modders who say, hey, mine's a player home. And then go to sorted by, and you can do either most endorsed or most downloaded. That's, I think, the best way to find the mods that you want. So most downloaded usually tells you, hey, a lot of people have heard good things about this, so they downloaded a lot. And then most endorsed, right, it's kind of the equivalent to YouTube liking. So if something has a ton of endorsements, then again, you could feel pretty confident in the stability and the usefulness of the mod. So that's one way. That's going under categories and doing that. And then the other way is just going for top files, which is another good way to find mods that you may want to install in your game. And what you can do is, again, same thing, right? You can do most endorsed in the last 2 weeks, most endorsed recently added, most endorsed of all time. And if you notice here, these first 4 mods, I actually have all installed. And you notice here with like Sky EU, or UI rather, it's got 11.1 million downloads. So clearly useful, clearly beneficial to the game. Immersive armors, it enhances the armor looks and that sort of thing. 6.3 million. Considering every single NPC in the game wears armor of some type, you could see that being an advantage, and so forth. And this even enhances tavern, the tavern look and everything. So that's the other way to find mods that you're interested if you're not quite sure what you're looking for. All right, so once you find a mod that you want to download, what do? Let's take the Inquisitor Armor compilation. Now I have not installed this yet. I think it looks pretty sweet though, so I've looked at it. I can't remember why I didn't download it, maybe because I was concerned about it conflicting with something else. But what you do is for every mod on Skyrim Nexus, it has the same look here. Right? And this is actually a bad example because it says download manual. Hold on. There we go. Okay, never mind. Scratch that. I do not know what I'm talking about. So under description, it'll tell you what the mod does. And also, it'll, sometimes the modder will put on there, hey, YouTube, I got so many likes from YouTube on this and that, whatever, So there's a lot of information in the description. But then also it'll tell down at the bottom here, which is one of the first things I go to look for before I download a mod, are known conflicts or load order. So hey, you need to load this before X, Y, and Z mod, otherwise your game will crash. So I look here just to kind of see, is there going to be any conflicts before I actually download the mod. Then you go under File, and you will see here, Download with Manager. So if you've downloaded your Nexus Mod Manager, then literally through your Skyrim Nexus, you can go through and download with your manager all the mods that you want to install, which greatly alleviates, 1, the installation process of that mod, but also 2, troubleshooting with possible conflicts of mods and so forth. So let's say we want to download, that's a patch, that's with the patch. Unfortunately. So let's say we want to download this one. Okay, so I've logged in, and now I'm downloading the Inquisitor Armor. And you're going to see down here, this is where it's going to be installing. It's going to be showing it's downloading. And I'll give you the status and the speed and all that crap. My internet connection sucks right now, so this is going to be like the worst download known to mankind. But I'm just doing this as an illustration to show you essentially when you go to Skyrim Nexus how it looks and how you go about downloading something. So again, to show you again, you go to Skyrim Nexus, you find your mod, you go to description to figure out what's going on, you go under file here, and then you download with managers. It literally is that easy. And then what will happen is once it's downloaded, it's going to plunk it in this unassigned category. Now once it's downloaded, then what you do is it's as simple as just double clicking it to activate the mod in your game. So let's see here, I'm going to wait for it to download and I'll illustrate it for you. I was going to do the epic Macho Dragon mod that still cracks me up every time I think about it. But since I haven't actually done this one, I may actually keep it as a mod. Let's just download this and do it. Once I do this, what I'm going to show you is once you've downloaded, say, your 20 or so mods or however many mods you want to install, I'm going to show you how to troubleshoot it, because that's actually the tough part, right? Downloading the mods and getting them installed in your game is not the hard part. The tough part is actually getting your game to run in a stable manner once you've actually put the mods on there. Because it's absolutely no fun, right, to go and download all these awesome mods that you know you're going to have a lot of fun with, and then you can't run your game and can't use them, and then consequently have to go delete them, and you just wasted all that time trying to, 1, download them, 2, get the game to launch, and then just deleting it. Now, just for purposes of all this stuff here, see how it's an unassigned? That does not matter. As long as there's a green check mark next to it, it means that the game that is installed, and so it means it get plugged in your plugins. So it may have gotten plunked down. Yeah, so it's down here right now. And that's what's going to happen, right? Everything's going to install based on the order with which you've installed on the game. So it's down here. That's important to note because your game will crash if your load order is incorrect. When I say load order, I mean literally with the index here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is the order in which the game loads all this scripting before the game launches. So, let's see a good example here. The Climates of Tamriel, the Winter Edition, all this stuff here. See how the patch is here? This patch, if it tried to load before the actual Climates of Tamriel ESP, then the game may crash because the patch is patching something that doesn't exist yet. So you got to make sure your load order is correct, and that's really a lot of the troubleshooting comes into that, getting your load order correct. So, that being said, how, Proto Bro, do I get my load order correct? Enter loot. Alright, so if you go and Google loot, hopefully you'll find it. It's kind of a random name. I'm gonna try, what I'll do is I'll find it in the, I'll put it in the description section for you guys, and try and spoon feed it for you. But if you go to sort plugins, that is literally your plugins in Nexus, in your Nexus mod manager. Okay, so it's going to go and it's going to organize all of my plugins here, and this is how you get the proper load order for the most part. Sometimes you do have to manually go in and do it, but for the most part, I've found with this thing, it's literally just you just got to click organize and then click apply, and you're good. Okay. Before I do that though, what I want to show you is a couple things. Notice the light blues here. These are ones that I believe are, I want to say baseline files. I'm not going to speculate, so I want to say. They just have some sort of importance from the other ones. Let's just keep it at that. but notice here what I want to show you is in the load order here, load after. This is telling you, hey, in order for Deadly Dragons to operate properly, it needs to load after Percus Maximus Master, okay? And then if you're like, well, is that actually happening? Then what you can do is you can look for Percus Maximus Master and confirm that it's loading after that. I know it is because my game is stable and doesn't crash, but I'm not seeing it off the top of my head, and that's probably because I have a billion of these. But anyways, that's one way if you wanted to say, hey, is this loading right? That's one way to check. But I just want you to be aware that there is a way to manually load after if you need to. So if, for example, if I was looking under looking on Skyrim Nexus under the mod for deadly monsters, and in the description it said be sure to load this after Climates of Tamriel Winter Edition, then what I would do is I would put in here load after, and you would basically click and drag that into there, and it would load. This would load after that. Okay, but for the most part, Loot will do all of this for you, and it's almost always right. So unless you're an advanced user and you really know what you're doing, I would just say, just click, organize plugins and keep it at that. So click apply, and you're all set. Now, one of the things I want to show you is, okay, now my plugins are ordered correctly. Why are they still conflicting? I can tell you why they're still conflicting. Because you may have dirty mods, and there's some scripting that's either old or is in conflict with other mods. How do you find that out? If you go under details, what you'll have is see how these descriptions are in here? So these, I've scrubbed a lot of these, and I've scrubbed them through a process I'm about to show you in a moment. But a lot of these needed scrubbing. So say Apache Hair here, maybe there was some scripting that conflicted with something else, or the scripting was just bad. Loot not only orders your plugins for you, but then it tells you, hey, you've got some maybe either bad mods here or some dirty mods. All right. So let's see here. For example, see with Skyrim, all this stuff here. Instead of this, just imagine some red. That's telling me that there's issues of concern with regards to that mod that maybe I want to look into. Okay. So I've scrubbed all these though, and it's not an issue. Finally, one additional thing I want to show you for Loot. So let's do sort plugins. No, never mind. Scratch that. Okay, so all right, let's close that. Okay, so now we've properly organized our plugins, right? So theoretically we have our load order correct. We've been told by Loot that a couple of our mods are dirty or possibly bad. What do we do about that? Does that mean we uninstall them? Usually no. Okay. How we deal with that is through a program called TestEdit. And again, I use TestEdit to identify mods that are crashing my game, or cleaning the mods that Loot has told me are dirty. All right. So here, let me close this really quick. If you have any questions on how to use TestEdit beyond what I've shown you, there's two sites you can go to that I utilize for it. If you go to creation, it's called creationkit.com/testedit_mod_cleaning_tutorial. I will link this in the description section. This is an awesome little walkthrough on how to use TestEdit, as well as a TestEdit step program. Again, I found this helpful in terms of going through some things. But what I use TestEdit for is scrubbing mods and identifying mods that are crashing my game. So when you go through it, first thing you can get say your 20 mods or 25 mods or whatever. Unclick all of, so run through the whole thing. Launch all of them. So see how I have everything clicked? Do OK. And what you're going to see is it's going to go through and it's going to basically try and launch every single mod. So theoretically, if you don't have any conflicting mods, or if you don't have any bad mods that are going to crash the game, this should load all the way through and say load complete. Okay. However, if you have a mod that is conflicting or a mod that is dirty that is crashing your game, what will then happen is like halfway through the load order or a quarter way through or whatever, once it hits that bad mod, it's going to stop loading and say, basically you've encountered an error. So, for example, I wanted to use immersive. Let's see here, where we at? And I want to use this one particular one. By the way, I want to note here, notice how Inquisitor gear is now way up here. When we ran Loot, it reordered it and bumped it up here so that it'll properly load and not conflict with the weapon and armor fix, whatever it might be that might possibly conflict with it. Here we go, Skyrim immersive creatures, okay? This one has a lot to it, and that's what I want to show you. I want to say probably of any mod that I have that creates issues for me in the game, it is this one. If I do have a crash, I usually suspect it's this mod that's done it. It's not that it's a bad mod, but it just does so much to the game that there's just more opportunity for conflicts, right? And because I have so many other mods running, there's possibilities. But it's that awesome of a mod that I don't have problems running it, okay? So notice down here, background loader finished. This is telling me that every single mod that I had ran, there's theoretically no conflicts, at least no conflicts that will immediately crash the game or crash it on start or whatever, so that I can at least get the game off the ground. But again, that doesn't mean I'm in the clear, right? It's one thing to launch a game, it's another thing to have your game stable. So we've at least gotten to the point now where our game is launchable. It's not going to crash. Again, how did we do that? We downloaded through Nexus Mod Manager, we used loot to properly organize those mods, and then we looked under details to find any dirty mods. But again, that doesn't mean that our game is going to crash on start. It just means that we may have some conflicts throughout the play of the game, making it unstable. We then ran tests at it, telling us that yes, the game will launch. Furthermore, we ran tests at it to see, do we have a bad mod that we need to fix in order to get the game to launch? So, for example, if Skyrim Immersive Creatures was the mod that was going to crash our game, then somewhere in this load order, it would have stopped. It would have stopped at Skyrim Immersive Creatures and said, hey, we can't go any further. That would tell you as the user that Skyrim Immersive Creature has an issue that you need to deal with. Okay? So, we know we're launchable. Cool. Doesn't stop there, though. Now, we clean our mods. So now, say under loot, it told us that Skyrim Immersive Creatures was dirty. It had, red, basically is what you're looking for. It had some red there. That's just telling us that either there's some scripting that's bad or some scripting that's conflicting with something else. So then how do we deal with that? All we want to do is load Skyrim Immersive Creatures. That's it. We don't want to load anything else. What Test Edit will do is it will load any other mod that must load before that. So, for example, in order for Skyrim Immersive Creatures to launch, it requires Skyrim, the update, and Dawnguard. Okay? Now, I think I downloaded the Skyrim Immersive Creatures for Dawnguard, and that's why it requires Dawnguard to do it. It's neither here nor there. That's just kind of telling you why that one did there. But one way to kind of identify, hey, do I have conflicts, is perhaps it's conflicting with this, but not necessarily, okay? But you'll notice here, all this extra stuff that it changes to the game. Every single thing here is added script that changes the vanilla default of the game. And so you can imagine when you're running any other kind of armor mod, yeah, you may have a conflict, right? So what you do is you take this, you right click, you go down to apply filter for cleaning, right? So there's a lot of options here, but again, to be honest with you, I don't use most of them. The process that I'm showing you in this video is what I use to download, load, and troubleshoot Skyrim, and I've been very successful with having a stable game. So there's plenty of other ways to do this. This is how I do it. Apply filter for cleaning. We do that. And what it does is it goes through all the scripting for Skyrim Immersive Creatures, and it essentially identifies in this master file here any conflicts, any double scripting, anything that you may have an issue with. Then what you do is you literally just take this, you right click it, and you say remove identical to master records. What that will do is it will remove those conflicting scripts. And then what you do is be sure you Control S for save, or just click save after you run this. And what that will do is then you'll notice if I take Skyrim Immersive Creatures and I go through and I run loot again, theoretically under details for Skyrim Immersive Creatures, it shouldn't be red anymore. It should basically say, hey, you've scripted clean, you're good to go, just like all those I was showing you, right? That's one way either to troubleshoot your game so it'll launch, or to make it more stable, okay? Let's see here. Let's go. So that's one way to fix it. Again, there's so many different factors and really, I really say factors and principles that go into troubleshooting a game. That's really one way to do it. There are multiple ways to do it. Sometimes perhaps you don't have the proper patch downloaded. And maybe you do have two mods that just simply there's no way to rectify them because they're directly in conflict and you have to use one or the other. For example, I think I use Dual Combat. That mod explicitly says, hey, any other mod that affects combat, this one's going to conflict with it and it's probably going to crash it. So just knowing those kind of things, you know that in the description or researching the mod before you download it can really help. So finally, one thing I wanted to show you just before I get to the S loader is just under Steam. Say you don't want to use Nexus to download mods. That's fine. Under Steam here, under Workshop, there's plenty of mods here that are maintained and perhaps kept up to date that you can use. And you can use Skyrim Steam to launch mods and really kind of circumvent this whole process I just showed you My concern though with that, and the reason I didn't start with that or do a video on that, is I've just found it to be very troublesome. As soon as you start running more than a couple mods through Steam Workshop, I found you have a lot of issues with it, and it's very difficult, if not impossible, to troubleshoot. You essentially just have to remove the mods. And that's not my hope here. My hope is that you can download really any mods that you want and make the game playable. Because I've done it, I know it's possible, and if you use this process, it'll help. Finally, last but not least, before, so I'm sure you just love hearing me blab away for infinite period of time. SKSE Loader. If you just type in SKSE into Google or Skyrim script extender, it'll take you to this. I'm running 1.7.1. Here is 1.7.3. So either or version should work for you. Download it and launch it. Use it as basically your launcher for the game. Essentially what it does is it allows your game to launch with all of those plugins, and it's absolutely essential if you're going to run mods. I think there's very few mods now that are worth anything that don't use SKSE Loader. How do you do that? There are README instructions on this once you download it. Basically you download it, you unzip it to say your desktop, and then what you want to do is you want to plunk it into your Skyrim folder. Alright, so if you're running Steam, it's something like this: Steam, Apps, Common, Skyrim, and then in your main Skyrim folder, you're going to plunk it in here, and you're going to basically redirect your main application, so your vanilla Skyrim application, you're going to basically redirect it or rename it SKSE_loader, and you're going to launch your game from this. So I just put this in here, I shortcutted my desktop, and now anytime I play Skyrim, I open Nexus Mod Manager. Not sure if you necessarily have to do that, but I do it just to be safe. I open Steam, and then I launch from my SKSE Loader shortcut. I don't actually launch from Steam. Again, the reason is, if I launch from Steam, it's not going to be launching all these other mods, or it's not going to be launching them properly. That's why I launch from this. Consider this your key to your mods, which is your key to your successful modding game. Alright, well that's all I have for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments section or email us at aoebrothers@gmail.com. Please like, subscribe, participate any way you can. Anytime you guys like and subscribe, it shows us that what we did here was of value and was helpful. And if you have any suggestions for what you would like to see in the future, please let us know. I really enjoy doing this. I know my brother does too. But again, we can't do it without your guys' support and help and participation. So see you guys on the flip side.